right. Welcome back to the Military Retirement Podcast. How you doing, John?
The chillest show on the internet.
All right. So you are not in your usual location, man. What's going on?
No, man, I had to take off and take a couple days, come visit my kids. My daughter just turned 20. So came, celebrated, spent a little time. Interesting travel. I did not travel Space A this time. I traveled commercial, and one of 3 times in my life when I've lost baggage. The first 2 times were on this plane, on another plane going back to Boston, and then the other time was in the middle of Iraq, somewhere in the desert, sitting on the back of a C-130. Fell asleep. The whole crew took off. They downloaded all the bags, left me on the plane. They're doing stuff, and I finally woke up, and I'm like, where's everybody? Where's my bag? They're like, yeah, it's all back at the thing. So it took me like 2 weeks to find that bag. Hopefully this one won't take as many weeks.
Dude, so well, first off, good morning, Navy Cop, man. Always with us. Good to have you, man.
Navy Cop.
So how, I mean, what are you living off of? Did you have to go out and buy clothes? Like,
yeah, just the basics. I've been
turning it inside out.
I'm practicing my stoic philosophies in real time.
Okay.
Just the basics to get by. Basically been wearing this shirt for a couple days, taking a shower, keeping it clean, change socks, change all the necessities. But they gave me a little travel bag at the airport. They're like, here's for your troubles. Here's a bottle of water. Luckily I know my way around here, so I just go out and grab stuff. I'm right next to downtown, so I can just walk and grab stuff. There's plenty of stores everywhere in every direction. And things are pretty cheap.
Good, man. Yeah, I'm glad everything's working out for the most part, right? At least they give you a bottle of water, so that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, so I got a question for you, man. Legit question, all right? It might take some deep thought, all right? But it's kind of been going all over. It's all over my Facebook walls and Instagram and all that stuff. Can 100 men defeat one gorilla?
Yes, I believe they could if they were resourceful enough.
I don't know why that's a thing, dude, but it has been all over. Like, people are like, there's simulations created. Can 100 men defeat one silverback gorilla? And there's like scientific analyzation of all this. Like, oh, the silverback gorilla is not built to fight hand to hand, but he will smash, he'll grab, he'll run. It's hilarious, man. And later on, I'm going to ask the same question to our guest here, so stand by. But somebody went out and actually did this entire simulation, dude. And I'm going to show you this thing. It's hilarious. Here, let me pull it up share this screen here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 10,000 gorillas versus 1 million men.
Yeah. So, I mean, logically, I would say that the 1 million men would win. But from an evolutionary kind of war historical standpoint, I would almost bet my money on the gorillas.
I think I would too. And then they throw out different contexts. Yeah, exactly. And they throw out different things, like if it was like maybe 100 Marines versus, or 100, Army Rangers versus one gorilla, but you don't have any weapons. It's just hand-to-hand combat, right? What would happen? So it was just funny. I was at the dinner table and my kid asked me that. I was like, where'd you get that? And then he's like, Dad, it's all over the internet. And then I started looking it up, and I'm like, it's all over my Facebook wall. I'm like, why is this a thing? Right? It's on X, on Twitter. It's hilarious, man. It's hilarious. But it really makes you think, like, because I've thought that before. I was like, could I fight a gorilla? These are things that go through my head.
Early in the morning when you're sipping coffee.
Right. I wake up and I'm like, damn, what if? What if? Yeah, shit. The other day I woke up and I started thinking about like the French Revolution, just random trash that passes through my head. That's just the mind of Vic. That's what it is.
think it all sparked from a Mr. Beast video or a Mr. Beast post, one of the two. I don't know if he actually made a video, but I think it was a Mr. Beast post or a video that had a similar kind of thing. And then next thing you know, like everybody's posting. So I wonder if 100% PNT rated veterans could beat
them. If it meant is like, hey, if you beat this gorilla, you get your 100% PNT. Right now, you're at 30.
No more PNT.
Could all of you beat this gorilla? Damn, man. Let me see. We got something from Navy Cop here. It is the same $20 bottle of water that the TSA confiscated. Yeah, it probably is.
Almost.
It probably is. Dang. So I'll tell you what, man. So remember when I went to Oregon this past, a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
So we went crabbing, right? And it was, just my family and I. We went on a boat. We went. We had crab traps and all that stuff. We had to pay for like the crabbing license. We had to pay for the boat, for the time out there, and it was all good because it was a nice experience.
Right.
But then you're supposed to measure these crabs, and if they don't measure, I think it was like 5+ inches or something, then you got to throw them back. So we quickly measured all these crabs that we had. We probably caught like 30 of them, right? That were like within standards. And we put them in this bucket. We left the boat. We brought the bucket up to the guy, and he measures them again. He's like, nope, throwing it off to the side. Nope. And I'm like, so we were left with one crab, right? One crab. Nice. And I was like, man, I want to have a feast tonight, right? And no, it's not going to happen. So I asked the guy, I was like, hey, what's going to happen to all these crabs that, you're putting off to the side? He's like, oh, we're going to throw them in the water here shortly. So I had my family go inside, just go around to the gift shop and stuff. And I sat outside, and I'm like, I watched the dude, and those crabs did not go back in the water.
No.
And no, he walked around to the back of the restaurant, and because they have a restaurant on site. And I'm like, so what is really happening here? Are we charging these folks to go catch these crabs? And
charging them to eat them later.
Yeah, charging them to eat them later. Exactly. So I'm like, this freaking scam right here. So I don't know if that's happening. Maybe they're tossing them in the water. I don't know. But I'm like, man, look at this, man. And it prompted me to think about business ideas too. I'm like, sneaky. But anyhow, so we got Pedro Zambrano on the line. He's in the back room right now. And if you're good with that, John, I'm going to bring him up real quick and probably talk about some more guerrilla fighting and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So welcome to the Military Retirement Podcast, Pedro. How are you, man?
Guerrilla warfare.
Guerrilla warfare. There you go.
Hey, I've been in the background listening, and I've been trying to spin it in my own head, especially that part about the PNT. If you get this dude, if you guys kill this gorilla, you go get your PNT. I'm not so sure the VA would then say, hey, well, I think you rate the PNT after that part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, yeah, you were successful, and your maneuver warfare was pretty effective. So, yeah, I think you're not rated
right
at 100%. Bringing down gorillas, man. But it's funny to think about, right? Like like I told John, I've woken up, I've thought of this, like, could I fight a bear? There was a time where I was like hiking in was the Appalachian Mountains. So I went out to Virginia for a course at it was in Charlottesville, Virginia. And then I went out to drive on a weekend and go through a hike. There's like a bear cub down there, and I'm like, okay, well, what I know is if there's a bear cub, there's probably a freaking bear somewhere nearby. So I immediately turned around, but then I thought, because it was a black bear, right? So it wasn't that big looking, right? The cub. I thought, okay, black bears are usually smaller, but they're probably more violent. And I thought to myself, like, could I fight a bear? And I'm like, damn, really realistic, man. Like, yeah, you're a Marine and stuff, and yeah, you're all about it, but don't take that risk. For what?
No, man. Nope.
No, hell no.
Yeah,
Hell no.
I'm usually the
depart.
volunteer. I'm not the volunteer.
Yeah. There you go. Don't be the one. Don't be the one. So yeah, man, Pedro, man, you did some time in the Marine Corps, right? You were a master sergeant, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, master sergeant in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
You were
retired
a
as a master
career
sergeant.
recruiter, retired as a master sergeant. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were a recruiter, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
That's right.
that I was never a recruiter, so I don't know, man. Like, how was that life? Like, was it tough? I mean, you had a family? Did it take you away from a lot of things? Did you miss a lot of things growing up in the Marine Corps?
You know, my journey on recruiting duty is it's unique because it's not like the sergeant, the staff sergeant, the gunny. Sometimes the corporal gets orders from the fleet to go on recruiting. So typically 36-month tour, and it is challenging, and you really find out like who you are as a Marine, because it asks you to bring all the intangible qualities that you can probably put away on the shelf while you're in the operating forces because somebody else is helping you with the mission. But when it's put on all on your shoulders, it brings up all those items you want to hold deep so that nobody sees. But once again, my path, I was an extended active duty recruiter. So I initially got off active duty in 2004. Did the regular Marine thing, looked at law enforcement, looked at all these other things, school. And when I wanted to come back in, I was contacted by a prior service recruiter because at that point in the Marine Corps, it was only new accessions or prior service of the service. So it was really tight for a prior service Marine to try to re-enlist or come back in after leaving service. So I found my pathway back into the Marine Corps through the individual ready reserve to the selected Marine Corps Reserve, and then through programs available through the selected Marine Corps Reserves for active duty type opportunities. And one of the special duty assignments available was recruiting. So as an extended active duty recruiter, I was actually, it's a corporate thing. You'll get to a corporate type of career while still being connected to the military. Because if I did well and, made mission as a canvassing recruiter, I got to keep my job, got to keep my benefits. If I didn't, then from 1 month to the next, I could get the deuce, right? Like, hey, you're later, you're out of here. So I did that for 7 years as a canvassing recruiter and then a staff NCOIC, staff non-commissioned officer in charge of recruiting offices. And well, my path, it's gotten better a lot now for Marines who do go out on recruiting if they utilize that program, because there's certain benefits now that have been added to the system to support them. I always had that carrot on the stick, like, one more time, brother, one more time.
Yeah. That's how they get you.
Yeah. So my time was actually filled with a lot of threats, a lot of toxic leadership at times. And on the flip side of it, it's really a blessing in disguise because it made me become better as a person, as a father, as a husband, and as a Marine. Because I was actually living out all the intangible qualities that we look to share with all the young men and women when they entered the Marine Corps, that others would put away on the shelf. I had to bring them forward because my career depended on it. So it was a blessing in disguise because that also helped me prepare for transition, because I understood what it's like whenever you leave the service and you have to be in a results-driven position and profession.
Do you find that, well, of course, what you did in the Marine Corps as a recruiter directly translates to what you're doing now, right? Because right now, what do you do outside of the Marine Corps?
So right now, I work as a senior technical recruiter for a staffing and recruiting firm that's headquartered in Knoxville, Tennessee. So it does tie well to the mindset that was used inside the Marine Corps and in the systems that are in place, as far as, understanding product knowledge, knowing how to communicate effectively with a candidate, describing the pipeline of the full cycle of recruiting, the process, and then just really grasping the fact that sometimes when you get rejected, it's not because of you, it's just because it's that person, right? So never take anything personal. So there are similarities to it. However, recruiting for somebody to become a United States Marine is a lot different than helping somebody become a system administration professional with an organization that is actually seeking them and their skill sets. So it's a lot of self-education that you have to go through that I didn't get in the Marine Corps. I wasn't an IT professional, but that mindset of, being relentless, having grit, and just understanding to utilize the resources around me while it may not be directed to me, just being somebody who wants to be an avid learner, to go and get better, seeking self-improvement all the time. Those intangibles, they carry you over very well.
And as far as like the folks that you were recruiting on that 7-year period, if any, how many did you come across? Because I don't know if you crossed into the time frame where they were actively looking for veterans who had gotten out to bring them back on active duty, like they're doing that with the Army right now and a couple other forces. Did you ever have to experience that? And what were some of those conversations like when you were trying to actively recruit somebody as a veteran who had been out for, a number of years, and you're trying to pull them back in because you need to get the numbers up for that specific demographic?
So on occasion, it would be, someone from, let's say, the Navy. There was a couple of sailors that when I would meet them, most of them, they wouldn't really actually be out. They would be, say, in a reserve status, and then want to understand how to switch from the reserves in the Navy to become a Marine. And so understanding the process of like the documents that would be needed for the Navy to give permission. So I encountered a lot of them, and my experience in it helped me have better conversations with them because I could describe how the process would play out for them and just give them the full understanding that, it's a challenge. It's not going to be overnight, and just kind of recognizing that when you separate from service or you're in that situation and you want to go on to a full active duty opportunity with the Marine Corps, regardless of what experience or profession that you carried inside another service, there's going to be a growing pains with it. And being able to articulate those growing pains to them, at times it was great because somebody would already understand, like, hey man, I kind of get it. I've painted the picture for my own career in this other service, so I get I'm gonna have to start over. And others, they wouldn't have that humility. They'd kind of be pissed about it and say, well, I shouldn't have to start over. I shouldn't have to do this. I'm like, man, player, I'm trying to help you out. Don't get mad at me. I'm the messenger.
It's the way it works, man. It's the way it works. So what would you say is so we all have our own experiences with the whole military to civilian transition, right? Some of us, it hits us harder than others. Some of us have more of a rocky transition. Some of us just kind of, make our way, or maybe we have something already in the works, right? From our time in uniform. Oh, I know this guy, I've made good networks. I've gone to these job fairs, etc. So I'm kind of smoothing my way into something else. How was your transition over to the civilian side? And did you experience any hurdles that maybe stick with you now?
Got you. So I did exactly kind of what you just mentioned right now. I had relationships that I had built while in uniform that I remained connected to, and they helped me whenever I got that first job when I retired from the Marine Corps, which is actually also the company that I did the SkillBridge with when I utilized the SkillBridge program when I was retiring in 2023. It was a fantastic experience. Relinquishing the mission, right? Turning that part over was a transition inside my own mind because I felt like I was doing something wrong with like trying to take care of myself when it was time to take care of myself. So I know what it's like when someone, doesn't matter what branch of service you are, if you have a lot of responsibility and then you need to break away from that so you can begin taking care of yourself, you can feel like you're doing a disservice to the organization and you're letting people down. And that's understandable because you live a life that's selfless, full of serving others. But my relationship helped me get my SkillBridge, then to help me land my first job. And I actually did something that most people don't do. I went into a profession that was completely foreign to me, right? Like I went into project management. I did not have a PMP. I did not go through the CAPM curriculum or anything. But it was a great opportunity. Somebody took care of me. And so I'm forever grateful for that. But I now understand why when people get out of the service, 48% of veterans, when they leave into that first job, they're usually going to leave after the first year. Why?
Yeah.
Because they're not aligned with what that job is going to do for them. They're trying to either go into something that's familiar, or they're hanging on by a thread, and they're like, I got to get this first one because the pressures, the gorilla sitting on my back for responsibility with my family. I got to pay bills. I got a wife. I got a husband. I got kids. So I know what all of that is like. And then I understand also the beautiful blessing of this first opportunity I had as a project manager also taught me all the things I did not want anymore from an organization or from a job, right? So it was a good lesson. And so I understand the growing pains that leave when they come with you whenever you separate or you retire from the military, the pressure, all of that aligned. Yeah. But relationships are the number one thing that actually helped me to be successful in my transition. And so did
you do that on purpose? Like, did you go from something you knew to something foreign on purpose because you wanted to try something out, or is it just the first thing that landed on your plate and you wanted to take it?
No, I actually wanted to try something new. I wanted to humble myself. On recruiting, we talk about what's called the peak performance model, where you go from dependent to self-confident to self-developing, other developing, and then peak performance in a skill or a profession. And so I wanted to test myself to see if I could do something different. I didn't want to, sometimes we call it pigeonhole ourselves. I don't want to just kind of be a one-trick pony. So I went into a profession I had no knowledge of to humble myself, but also see, can I grow and continue to learn so that I can become better as a professional? And I did. I learned a great amount about project management, established some great relationships. But no, I did it on purpose, and it was the best thing ever.
And you said the first part of that was actually getting into the SkillBridge program, which then brought you into that job. Was that SkillBridge like very, very similar to the job that you were doing in that first job?
Yes. Yeah. And when I actually did my SkillBridge, by the time I went to set it up, I had like a month to do it, right? I did all the wrong things when it came ready to retire from the Marine Corps. I waited to the last minute to do my VA claim. I waited to the last minute to get my SkillBridge because I got time. And an organization in the state of Arizona, shameless plug, the Arizona Coalition, they are the ones that helped me get an outside private company approved through the DoD SkillBridge program, so that way I could access the SkillBridge, because I didn't realize that when you do something like through Hire Our Heroes or the other organizations, you have to prepare and get approved for those processes months ahead of time so that you can actually take advantage of their programs for SkillBridge. But that's my fault, right? At first I was like, somebody should have told me. But nah, man, you're a grown up, right? When you're when you're out of the military, you got to take care of your own business. So
that's right.
Yeah. Nonetheless, the Arizona Coalition took care of me, helped me get that company approved, which then helped me to go into the SkillBridge. And yes, everything I learned in the SkillBridge, I then applied when I was actually doing the job for them after I retired.
And when was that the first time you started thinking about retirement? Like, was it a year out, 2 years out? And then was that kind of immediately after that you were like, oh, I got 2 years, I got 24 months, plenty of time, I can do anything in 24 months. Was it right around like a 2-year mark? No. Like, when did you start thinking about the retirement?
Man, John, I'm going to tell you, that's a great question, because I think it probably happened like twice, right? Nice. Twice. The first time was like the thought. And when that thought entered my head, this is around the time when COVID took place. And I was just kind of trying to make a decision. Do I want to stick around? Do I want to retire? Like, what's it going to be? And then when I did make the decision to stay longer, I knew immediately at this point, and this was at the end of 2021 going into 22. I already knew 24 months from this time, I'm going to be done. This is it. So I need to start getting ready. But obviously I couldn't turn in my retirement paperwork until the end of that year so that I could hit the amount of time that was necessary for it. But even when I did submit my retirement paperwork and it got approved, I knew I needed to get certain things done. But man, John and Victor, I put it off because I wanted to take care of everything else towards the mission, my Marines, the organization, leave on a high note. And, you know, I feel like that's what a lot of us, when we really care about what we do and we feel purpose driven for our last assignment, you know, no matter what branch of service you're in, you want to do that. I can tell you, man, when it's over, it's over. Ain't nobody called me from that time to talk about those things anymore. So I did myself a disservice, but I'm blessed enough that I had the right relationships with the right people that was able to help take care of me, that helped me then take care of my family.
And isn't that funny how that works too? Is once you leave that life, it's kind of like people move on, people continue doing what they're doing, right? The wheel keeps turning,
Right.
you know, and I learned that the hard way myself. Like I expected calls, I expected to be, you know, still close to the folks there, but I'm like, okay, they still got their mission that they're doing, right? They're still doing their thing. I got to figure out what I'm going to be doing. I can't be stuck to that life anymore, right? I got to make that full 30-inch step is what is, you know, I got to fully transition, right? I can't get that shit out of my head, but I got to take that full 30 step, man. I got to fully transition. I can't live in the past because that's chapter 1, right? I got to do chapter 2 now. I got to concentrate on this.
Yeah.
That was the tough part. And I like what you brought up, man, doing the something that's completely foreign to you. Because I did the same thing, right? I went from I worked in military justice while I was in the Marine Corps. I did a lot of investigations and things like that. And then when I got out, my first job as I got out was working at the Surface and Mine Warfighting Development Center, something I had never done before. Right. And it required, and as I look at the elements that they needed for that job, it required 10 plus years as a surface warfare officer or an XO of a ship. And I was like, yeah, that's not me. I've never done that. But because of my networks, right, because of people I knew, I was able to get that job. And you know, I learned quickly, right? I essentially learned what a surface warfare officer does. And, you know, it took me about, you know, a couple months, but, you know, I got the ball rolling, but it was completely foreign to me. I learned a lot. I was able to make a lot of networks and jump on projects. You know, I had my Lean Six Sigma thing and I was able to get my hands involved and stuff. But at first, when I first got into that position, I was like, oh, what the fuck? You know, what did I do? You know, what am I getting into here? Because I didn't know anything about, you know, Tomahawk missiles and then, you know, and this and that, you know, going into classified, these briefings with the admiral, like I didn't know anything. I never lived that life. But I think that's a key point that you bring up is trying something else new, right? To kind of challenge yourself, to see, at least prove to yourself that you are not just this one trick pony and you know, maybe you're an MP, maybe you are, you know, counter intel, whatever. You don't have to do that sole thing as you get out. You know, you can try something else new and figure out maybe this is the world that I need to be in, or maybe I want to try something else, or maybe I am meant to live as what I was doing while I was in the Marine Corps, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, whatever it is. So strong stuff that you brought up, man. It's like trying something else out to see if it fits you. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But you'll never know unless you try it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When going through that process, humble, right? Very humble. And I remember there were times I used to work with this younger guy, and man, I love that dude. He's a great person, good personality and everything. And he had a lot of skills when it comes to doing drafting and drawing up, you know, anything from all the construction that would be necessary for the projects. And I'd hit him up, be like, hey, brother, I need your help, dog. It's like, he'd be like, you need my help? I'm like, yeah, you, bro, I need your help, man. Like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, you never done this before? No, man. I heard you know how you got all the answers, dog. Help me out. And
You build that camaraderie, man. You build that.
Yeah, the recruiting stuff would come out, but I literally didn't know what the hell was I supposed to do. So I needed this dude's help. And
start putting chips on the table. Hey, man, what do you want? Adventure? You want money for college? What do you want?
I found myself doing it. I'm like, hey, bro, what does this mean to you? Right? Like,
oh man, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff never leaves you, right? Like I'm saying things like 30-inch step, whatever the hell. That stuff that's ingrained in your mind, right? But you as a recruiter, I mean, you have those sales tactics. You have the way to build rapport with folks. That's kind of ingrained in you. I mean, that's a huge thing because you need that, to build networks, to build camaraderie, to build relationships in new positions. Because nobody really wants to work with somebody they don't want to work with, right? If you're sitting there in the corner just pissed off all the time, like a pissed off first sergeant or whatever, at the company office because nobody listens to you, you can't do that stuff when you're out in the civilian world. It's a completely different mindset, man. It really is.
And I would see people like that, and granted,
you're out there.
The first organization I worked with, there was a couple of retired Marines, and one of them was a first sergeant, right? But I love that dude, man. He was cool. He'd come up and he'd be very aggressive. I'm like, listen, player, just because you're upset that you represented a diamond. Diamonds are for girls. The cross rifles, where they win the war, bro. I built the plans. Just relax, Bato. I got you. He'd get all high and mighty about stuff, but it was fantastic because, like you said, the building rapport piece. When I first went to recruiter school back in 2007, we received what was called professional selling skills by Achieve Global. And from that time, throughout the years later, the Marine Corps developed what was called MC3, Marine Corps communication skills. And my wife, man, she's not here, but my wife would get upset at times because she's like, listen, don't be doing those tricks on me. You can do them to people out there. You can do it in your job. You can do it on everybody else, but don't do them to me. And so I would tell people, I'm like, listen, man, yeah, I have I got a lot of education placed my way when it comes to conversation. But, I was spitting flames since I came out the womb. I knew how to talk to people. But this time it was just talking to people with a purpose. And that's what recruiting did for me is frame the conversation to deliver results. But yeah, no, it works anywhere. Like you said. Yeah.
Well, I mean, along those lines, and maybe we can tie this into what has maybe changed or what things have evolved over the last couple of years since you retired till now, habits, mindsets, things like that. But are there some like top 2, 3, 5 tips that you would give people when it comes to communication? Because I feel like that is probably one of the key things, especially if you think about getting into the job market and doing things with work after service. A lot of it has to do with networking, like a lot. Like there's a 1 or 2%, put your resume out there and do it the traditional way through the job board, et cetera, et cetera. But the other 98% of that is who are you networked with? Who's going to pass your resume to the hiring official? Who's going to put in the good work for you?
Who do you know?
Who's going to be like, hey, that's my bro. We were deployed 4 times. He's got my back, and I think he's going to have the company's back. Anything you want to throw into that?
I think this is probably where the LinkedIn stuff comes in, since that's like the professional platform. I mean, there's over 1 billion people on the platform. For Marines, I would say this: hey, you can make friends with other services. That's okay. You're out of it because when we all leave the service, we're all just veterans. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's like we're all veterans. So grow your network with other members of other services. Many times, a lot of Marines or just anybody, you don't have joint service opportunities. So you never had the chance to work with another organization, another part of the DOD, but grow your network in that manner. Now, as far as for the communication pieces, when you humble yourself enough to understand that you have to learn the terminology of the industry that you want to go into, the Roger that and the pop smoke, as code for the barbecue player, but when you're going to be in a room with professionals, especially for the industry you want to go into, learn the terminology, learn their language, right? And learn how to transcribe what you've done, all the awards, all the skills, all the experience. Learn how to connect the dots on how that works in their world, because you want to get access to their world. And, you know, I was actually talking with a buddy this past week, and he says what a lot of us always say. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. I'm like, yeah, player. And the other part of that is who does know you? Like, is it only the people that you are comfortable with, or are you stepping out of your comfort zone to start establishing relationships with someone that's in an industry that you want to venture off into? Like, if all your friends are just people that you hung around the whole time and just they like the same things you like, you're not going to grow from that type of environment. You need to go into a new one and build new relationships. And so with the LinkedIn piece, when it comes to communication, a lot of it is really introducing yourself as a professional on the platform. So one of the best ways I've seen to build the rapport is to share your story. Go on there and share your story about who you are as a person, whether you're a family man or whatever that is. Just introduce yourself and share your story. And through that, the engagement of anybody that's commenting or sending you messages, build a rapport that way. Most times, some of the downsides I've seen people of building rapport after they leave service is they're only building relationships when they have to. They didn't do them ahead of time. So at that point, now when you're wanting to get in contact with that company, what I could have done better was build relationships when I thought about retiring, instead of trying to do it when I did actually retire. And so if you're still in uniform, do them then for whatever industry you're looking at, so that when you do actually need the introduction, you've already been introduced because they know you. So build them that way. And then when you actually get in the room and you're going to have the conversation with them, if you just don't feel good with talking to people, connect with someone who does. Like, take a class on how to learn how to communicate. Be humble enough to do that on your own, right? The biggest blessing, one of the biggest blessings of recruiting duty, was that it was ingrained in you all the time, especially when you went to recruiter school, that you had to learn how to articulate Marine Corps terminology to a young teenager or an educator or an influencer, because they don't know what I don't know what a DI is. Simple stuff like that we would take for granted, right? They don't know what a DI is.
Right.
They don't know what SGT means. Just things that we take. It's too simple to be tough. But the humility piece comes in, is like, if you don't know how to do it, get with someone who does. And if anything, take a course. You have to continue to be a learner about communication. But one of the best books I've ever read before was How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. And Tom Hopkins in his book would talk about the difference between language that gets your conversation closed off and language that gets people to want to continue to conversate with you. You know, the self improvement the entire time is what benefits us. When we retire, it doesn't stop. It actually gets amplified more, because you're a foreigner. Now you need to get known, right? So you got to take a step back and start to grow again.
That's right. So I read this somewhere a while back, and I mean, it rings true, right? Like, where do you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where do you want to be? And not you specifically, but like anybody who is leaving the military, who is maybe trying to find their next job or the second job, third job, whatever. Yeah. Where do you want to be? Who do I need to know in that industry to get my foot in the door? Not using somebody, but building that rapport, right? Building the rapport, getting the knowledge that you need. So what I find is a lot of folks, at least kind of scouring, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn, and stuff like that. A lot of folks who maybe want to get into a certain industry, but never take the time to actually go to, I don't know, the job fairs, or go to maybe the get-togethers that industry has. So who do I need to know, and what do I need to do to get there? That's a big part of actually getting your foot in that door. If nobody knows you, nobody's going to know you when you submit a resume. You're going to be a name on a piece of paper. right?
Yeah.
Along with the other 1,000 pieces of paper with their name on it, who are, you're not really going to stand out, right? And another thing I wrote down here, and it kind of rings true because I did the same thing, right? I never actually used LinkedIn effectively until I actually needed it, right? I never started building relationships and talking to folks on there until I actually needed it. And then I read a post by somebody. I don't know where it is. It was probably a year or two ago. It was don't just use it when you need it. LinkedIn is kind of an animal when you got to feed it as well if you want something back from it, right? So don't just take. You got to give to it too, right? Because people notice that, like, oh, this guy's just asking for a job, but he's contributed nothing to the platform. He's giving no information. He's not helping anybody else out. That's a big thing, and people notice that stuff, right? I get people who I mean, you probably do the same, and John, you probably had the same thing too. Like, you get messages on LinkedIn like, hey, you looking for financial advice? Or I'm like, dude, I don't know you from Joe. I've never seen anything you posted. I don't trust you. I don't know you. Delete or decline or whatever it is, right? Because that rapport's not built, and we constantly get that stuff. That's a necessity. And then you bring up like getting out of your shell and doing, learning how to speak and how to communicate. I mean, there's things like recruiting school, right? You went to recruiting school. There's things out there for civilians like Toastmasters, right? That's a big one. You go out there and you learn how to communicate, how to speak, how to eliminate the back on the block language from your vocabulary and how to speak intelligently to folks who are within the scope of what you want to do. So there's ways around it. You just have to be able to get out there, leave the house, and get in front of people who you want to work with.
100%. And so my relationship got me the SkillBridge and then the first job when I retired, right? But like you talked about, Victor, because I was still active on LinkedIn, not as much as I am now. Now that I'm like purpose driven, there's a reason why I'm doing it, right? And I'm driving myself towards a destination. I read a book years back, and it's called H3 Leadership: Humble, Hungry, Hustle. And it was 3 simple questions: who am I? Where do I want to go? How am I going to get there? And so then it helps establish the path of where you want to end up. And continuing, even after I had a job, continuing to post on LinkedIn. Once I separated from that organization, from project management, I took a month off. I took off, my family and I went on a trip. We went out to Italy. We were in Greece having a great time. But I found my next job because of LinkedIn, because I was still engaging on there even after I had a job, like kind of what you talk about. Don't just use it when you need it, continue to use it. And that's how I landed where I'm at right now. And I think too many people, they're just, I want to find it. And then once I found it, I'm done. Well, bro, this ain't the military no more, man. You're not going to stay in the organization for 20, 30 years. Most professionals, I mean, people post about it on LinkedIn all the time. There's members of organizations that they talk consistently about 2 years in a place. And if you see no upward mobility and there's an increase for gain in compensation, use it as a foundation and then move somewhere else. So the loyalty that a lot of us are looking for when we retire, like, I just want to find the next place where I'm going to be for 30 years. And toss that in the garbage, player. If you just want a GS job, then go get a GS job. Got you. But you ain't going to be working from home no more. Now you got to be at the office. So, it's a different mindset. And for me, honestly, and that's probably one of the most frustrating things that I see in veterans when they retire or they get out. They're like, I want the next thing that's going to help me be comfortable for 30 years. You know what? That's the problem, man. You were too comfortable in the service that you don't know how to be uncomfortable as a professional. You ain't going to do good. And that's why a lot of them are hurting when they get out. Like, you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable because you continue to grow. So, I mean, Yeah, that's probably a whole nother topic, man. I'll probably run on forever on that piece.
But no. That's all good, because you hit it right here, dude. You hit it right here, because I just left federal service. Yeah, that's a good topic, dude. I just left federal service, right? I'm on DRP right now, deferred resignation program, because I'm probationary, right? As a supervisor, and they terminated me one time already because I was probationary, and then they just basically told me, hey, you're on your way, and then if we need you back, we'll call you back. And I'm like, for 2 weeks, I'm like, what the hell do I do with my hands now? You know, like I don't know what to do. And then they call me back 2 weeks later. They're like, hey, we want you to come back. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And really, that's, you hit it on the head, dude. I was looking for something that would be comfortable, because I always heard federal positions, you know, you can just ride that out into the sunset. You know, like you just do what you gotta do. You know, and then you could ride that for 20 years and get another retirement. And I figured, okay, well, instead of jumping around from job to job, maybe this would be like a little cush thing. And lo and behold, you know, with everything that's happening now, is a rocky thing to be in, right? The federal government, the federal positions are not stable like they used to be, right? So when they offered me the deferred resignation, I was like, you know what, I'll take that. I resigned my position because a little bird in the form of another supervisory employee mentioned, yeah, they're going to be terminating more probationary employees. You're going to be on the chopping block. So look at that deferred resignation. Got it. I took it, right? But now it's like, okay, well, time to be uncomfortable a little bit and find something else, because maybe working for somebody else, maybe working for the federal government is not for me right now. So got to be uncomfortable now.
And you know, with this podcast that you all have put together, this might be the next piece, man. Yeah, I found myself that when I got out the Marine Corps the first time, and granted it was different, I was a corporal at that time. You know, it just wasn't the right time for me for a lot of things. Just come back from, you know, overseas and everything, back from Iraq. But I did what a lot of Marines do, or just service members the first time. I ran to the law enforcement. I was like, let me go find that piece. And at that point, law enforcement wasn't accepting me in the state of Texas without a college education. They weren't waiving it like San Diego, or like Los Angeles and Phoenix PD at the time, when they came to the TAP class in San Mateo and 62 area. And so when I got to Texas, I went to 9 different police departments, and all 9 turned me down because I didn't have college education meeting the requirements. The only one that would accept me was the state troopers, but that was 2 years of a stretch on a highway they picked anywhere in Texas. And I was like, man, that's like being back in the military. Like, I'm trying to do something different. So I went to school. I did what other people do. Like, when I meet veterans or anybody, I ran that race. It got me to a part where I was just frustrated, because we do a fantastic job of onboarding service members. There's so much attention that goes into recruiting and onboarding. The opportunity, and I was having a conversation with some veterans about this yesterday, the opportunity for improvement in preparation for the next part of life, which is what we promise in recruiting, is winning our nation's battles and then returning quality citizens back to the community. We do a horrible job of returning quality citizens back to the community, because there's no return on investment once they take off the uniform. At that point, it's a whole nother ballgame. You can go do your business for somebody else. We only love you when you're wearing the jersey. So when I left and then got into the mode again of like, do I want comfort? Do I want convenience? Like, what do I want? I found out I want my purpose. And my purpose is my calling, which is the intersection of passion and skills. And recognizing that, again, at least gives me the courage to want to step out and do something, to where the compensation will come. The benefits of somebody seeking services or assistance will happen. And so I'm in the mind frame now of like nonprofit, being an entrepreneur, and I admire anybody who is an entrepreneur. And most times as a veteran, you probably don't need to work for another company because you have so much to offer. You should probably go into business for yourself. Is it scary? Absolutely. But we got too tied to all the things that the government would do for us. We're going to start living what everybody else out here has been doing. And that's probably the scariest part about retiring and transition is, oh man, I didn't realize how well I was taken care of. I got to try to figure it out all over again. But we can do it, and we will do it because we're resilient. So it works, man. It's the John, I know you mentioned earlier, like what carries over into retirement. It's the mindset and all the intangible qualities. You got to run back to them because they're the ones that make you strong in uniform, and they make you stronger as a civilian in the private sector.
When you mentioned intangible qualities, there's a bunch that I can bring up in my mind, but I feel like there's a larger subset of people out there who maybe, like, let's define intangible qualities for those who don't know what that is, just to be completely obvious about it. And then secondly, like, what are a handful of those qualities that are like the most useful qualities for you? And
absolutely. So on recruiting, right, we'd lay out the benefit tags, the 11 different traits that make everybody successful in the Marine Corps. Victor's probably trying to think about his right now. I don't even remember mine.
Adventure.
That's travel and adventure is a good one. The one that sticks out the most is courage and self-confidence. Courage and self-confidence is an essential intangible, right? And the other one are the three selves: self-reliant, self-direction, and I'm forgetting. You know what? I have it right here on my going away gift. Self-reliant, self-direction, self-discipline. Discipline is probably the biggest one, man. Discipline for a bias for action. Those two immediately, and I got my own cheat sheet now. The next one is challenge. Honestly, yeah, to challenge yourself, because you have to continue to grow. For example, AI is changing the game in a lot of different wakes of life. It's leveraging the field now for a lot of professionals. And so many of us, we don't want to continue to grow because we feel like I made it, man. I retired. Hey, look, that retirement, everything ain't gonna cover the whole life, bro.
Yeah.
It's not.
That comes at 65, man. I mean, right now it's just chapter 2, right? So it's a whole new lease on life.
Absolutely.
Right? You got a second chance to do whatever you want right now.
Yeah.
No. So go ahead, man. I won't interrupt you, but
no. So
just came to my head.
Courage, the courage and the self-confidence piece are crucial. That's a strong quality, right? That needs to be demonstrated. The self-discipline, self-reliance, self-direction. And the other one I told you was the challenging yourself, right? Like those are all key. They're the ones that I run to the most, because I think about the young guy or man, I have my wife's little cousin who's thinking about military service. And granted, a lot of her influencers have told her that it's bad for her. It's not good. And I took a step back and I asked myself, why do they do that? Why do people have this narrative about military members when they get out or they retire? And for me, this is just my opinion. I lead it back to the fact of the fear that sets into people when they leave the uniform, and then the path looks uncertain. And so because somebody looks, they don't have confidence, they just don't know where to go, they look lost. If I'm a parent, do I want that for my kid? No, man. I mean, I got 3 daughters. Like, would I want that? No. So I feel a sense of responsibility to continue serving as a leader of my life, of my family, but for the generation that comes after me, so that they can know that when you leave the uniform, you're going to be fine, because everything you gained while you wore it, it's amplified more because others don't have it. So you're going to be all right.
Yeah. I like that. And that kind of goes into my next question that I was, and you almost hit it there. It was, would you join the military today if you were 18 years old today in 2025?
Well, I mean, my answer is going to be yes, man. But
yeah.
It's
I mean, why is that? I mean, there's a lot of changes going, right?
Yeah.
And well, I guess I'll put it like this. You mentioned you have 3 daughters.
Yeah.
Right. I got a daughter myself who's 20 years old. would you want your daughter to join the military today?
Yeah, I would. Because I look at it from what's the advantage of military service? What's the advantage of wearing the uniform? I'm not talking about compensation, not talking about benefits, any of those other things that, the Walmart window, right? Like we got school, we got this, we got that. I'm not talking about that. I'm really talking about the pathway to growth as a human being. I would consistently tell people on recruiting that you can be a doctor and lose your license for medicine. You can be a lawyer and be disbarred. You can be a police officer and lose your badge. You could be there's so many professions out there that you have to earn a certification for that you lose it. Like when it's over, it's over, right? And so you have to go into something else. But when you get tied into a veteran community, which many are successful, we just usually broadcast all the ones that are not. A ton are successful. The network is powerful. I would so love for my children to one day wear the uniform and be born into that community, because it will last a lifetime. And we are getting better, even though there's things that the gaps exist, we are getting better in supporting, because we look back to veterans who were in the Korean War and Vietnam. For what we provide today, they would have loved to have had, man. They would love to have had it. And I know that exists. And when people talk about the government or whatever else, man, 23 years, and you gentlemen know, how many times have you talked to the president? Never, dude. You ain't never been at that level. And if you have, maybe. But how does that really influence your day-to-day life inside the uniform? It's too high. You're down here at this level trying to make an impact. And so I see it as being a tremendous advantage, because it can do great things for you. And I've seen it. I've lived it. I mean, I was a dad at the age of 14. Okay. I'm 44 right now. I have a daughter who's about to be 30. I got 2 grandkids, 8 and 6. And I grew up in a family of 12, man. I used colored paper to buy groceries. Okay. But that's not why I joined the service. I joined the Marine Corps because I wanted to do something different. And if education was all ever anybody needed, especially when they get out and they're in the private sector, then companies wouldn't be hiring and firing people with degrees all the time. They want more than that. They want something that comes from here. And I know that you can get that in uniform.
Yeah. That's a big thing too. And I'm glad you brought that up. That's a big thing I tell my kids. My daughter, she went her way and she's, in college and she's concentrating on that. But I have 2 sons. And I'm kind of getting in their head too. Like, we're going this summer to Annapolis because my son got accepted to the Naval Academy STEM program for the summer. So we're hitting that up. But that's kind of in their head, right? I've been kind of planting that a little bit. And I guess planting is a bad way to describe it, but I'm kind of been encouraging him to look into this because it does provide leadership. It does provide a challenge, outside of the comfort zones. He won't be on the video games all day, be in a leadership position, leading sailors at that point, or Marines if he decides to go to the Marine Corps. More power to him. I'm trying to lead him to the Navy, though. I'm like, hey, bypass that whole TBS thing, man, because I did TBS and it sucks, dude. You don't want to do that. But yeah, go experience the world, man. Go gain new knowledge. Get out of where you grew up.
Yeah. And
go see the world. Go to Italy. Go meet my friend John over there in Italy. Go hang out. But see the world. Do something different. Just get out of San Diego. And that's the selling point. I'm like, you look at all the places that we have lived. We get stationed overseas. We been to Hawaii, been to, Okinawa, Iwakuni, all these places. And it's been an adventure every time. I'm like, why would you want to stay in one place? And I think that's a selling point.
Yeah.
It was like, go experience something new.
Yeah,
have you been stationed in Japan, Pedro?
Man, for every Marine that was ever stationed in Japan, anybody who was ever stationed overseas, I'm like so #jelly. I'll tell you, because they always have the best stories. And so I find myself now wanting to travel so much because of that. But yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to go to Japan and do my thing.
So I'll tell you, man,
I always got told no.
There's a, when I was stationed out in Iwakuni, man, like, so they have these little vending machines all over town, right? And it's like an honor system. Like they sell beer at these vending machines, right? Anybody could buy them.
Wow.
Anybody could go up there and just put their money in there. But I guess addicted is a bad way to describe it, but I got very, very, I guess addicted, right, to these coffees, right? It's called Georgia coffee.
Oh, okay.
And they're out of Japan. So I'm like, man, I found a little Japanese shop here by my house. And I'm like, man, I bought a whole case of these things, dude. They're just lattes, man. I freaking love this stuff. Anyway, that's something else. But no, good info, dude. And that's how I sold to my kids too. I'm like, dude, you want to go out and see the world. You want to go out and experience new things, meet new people, join the military, dude. You know, it's fun. You get to meet friends. You got a built-in friendship network. My roommates were from like Texas and freaking, I don't know. One of my roommates was from Germany, dude. Like he moved, overseas to join the Marine Corps. One from Canada, I just met up with my deployment buddy from Canada. It's like you find all these people from different walks of life and you become a family, right? And that's a big thing that you lose when you leave the military, right? Almost unless you keep contact with them, but you lose that camaraderie, that tribe and all that stuff. But while you're in, you gain it and you become tight. You become a unit. It's awesome.
Absolutely, man. My daughter, my youngest, she laughs because she's the one that experienced the most of the Marine Corps life. I mean, she's born into it, right? She smiles sometimes because we go places and somebody will see a ball cap or, a tattoo and stuff. And I'm like, hey, what's up? Semper Fidelis. I'm like, hey, what's up, brother? How you doing? And she's like, do you know him? I'm like, yeah, that's my brother. Dad, I've never seen that guy before in my life.
That's how it is, man. Yeah. That's how it is. Shit, I was just at the checkout line yesterday at the grocery store. And there was a guy with a Navy veteran cap, Vietnam veteran cap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thank you for your service. I tend to thank them for their service. And they're like, oh, thank you very much. And like, we start talking back and forth like, oh, you retired too. Cool. So it's that built-in connection that you have. That's awesome. Right. And then we get to talking and I'm like, hey, exchange numbers or whatever. And I'm like, hey, come over for a barbecue or something. It just expands from there. It's a built-in network, right? It's like if you go to Harvard, you got a built-in freaking alumni network. Hey, you got a built-in veteran network here. I guess I gotta get like a Iraqi freedom hat or something to wear around. I feel too young to wear those things, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I still have yet to buy my red hat, man. So I haven't bought one yet. And
I don't have one yet, man.
I talk with some buddies and my wife's like, what's up with this red hat? I'm like, listen, like it's special. I'm gonna put it in the case. I'm not gonna wear it. And she's like, you guys are funny. Like, what? Just go ahead and get it. I was like, no, because if I wear it around, they're gonna be like, oh, this your dad's. Like, what's up, man? Cool. Like, no, bro. I'm a veteran too, right?
That's it.
Yeah, but no, man. Dude, retirement. It can be scary. It can be a lot of things. At least for me, it has gotten better every day. It has gotten better every day because of things that I couldn't do while I was in uniform. I love when people are like, oh, well, you had the power to do a lot of things. Like, not really, brother. No, I could not say no. Like, yeah, the power of free will, no matter how much you think it exists, it doesn't. You can, like, saying no is not really tied to what it is. So exercising options now as a civilian, right? In the private sector, you can tell a company no. You can say, this is not good for me no more. I appreciate everything. This has been a great relationship, but I'm gonna take my skills somewhere else. I'm leaving. And that's not bad. That's because now it's an option that you have available. And that freedom that exists when you take the uniform off, it's empowering. And others that when they're still in uniform, they don't understand it. But it's also a beautiful tool because you get to tell yourself and your family what you're worth and where you want to take yourself. You get to be like LeBron James and say, I'm taking my skills to South Beach, right? Like, holding a press conference. So, yeah, no, it gets better every day, man. But it's what you make of it. You just can't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. I think you said it really well in the beginning here, where you were like, it's kind of like moving to a foreign country. Like, you got to learn the culture of the outside world, the civilian world. And along with learning the culture, you got to kind of learn the language, right? Because when you go to a foreign country, you hit the streets of Italy, or you hit the streets of Germany or Japan or anywhere else. Like, you don't speak the language. You have to figure it out really, really quickly. It's almost the best way to learn a language, is to just throw yourself out in the situation, know a couple vocabulary words, and then just go from there and learn how to order coffee and learn how to order dinner and get a taxi and like all that stuff. So you have to kind of learn the language. With that, if you got the opportunity to go and sit in front of a TAP class, give like the opening kind of 30 minutes talk to them, what would you want to highlight and tell them? Like, what would that kind of outline for that look like?
First thing I would let them know is that transition is going to affect each of them differently, no matter how confident you think you are. And do not lie to yourself and tell you that you're not going to miss it, because you will. Now, with that, understand that going into a new part of your life, one part of you is going to die. That uniform is not, there's something happening to it. You're going to go through grief, and it's not a bad thing. It's because it's a part of you. So let's reach back and grab all those things that we really loved about it and hold on to them, because we're going to need them when we move forward. And now that we're going to move forward, this is something else you need to understand. Everybody out here, you're going to have people who really thank you for your service because they mean it, and others because it's a conversation starter. So yesterday's home run doesn't win today's game. You have to evolve. So let's talk about how to evolve and how to continue to grow and move forward. And then I would establish all the tools that are necessary as far as when it comes to your resumes. Like I mentioned, AI is now a tool that is leveraged the playing field. You can do a lot of those things on your own now. When it comes to networking with purpose, building relationships, and then the truth and the honesty about what your skills and your experience say market value wise for a job. Too many times, a lot of veterans are leaving the TAP, or I had a buddy who's said they went to the executive TRS class. It's the same thing. There's just not a corporal in the room, because otherwise, why are a lot of them still struggling to find a job? So it's because too many prior who are running the courses have not completely separated from the military. They just transitioned into the role to now providing the information about transition, and nothing on them, right? Like, if you got it, you got it. But you have to invite people into the room. And so being invited into a room like that would give the honest, full frontal about what transition really is, and how you have to continue to grow regardless of what you achieved inside the uniform. There's a new growth that needs to take place, and it's going to ask a lot of you. And some of you probably aren't going to do it well. And it's not because you can, it's because you refuse. And because you refuse, you're the ones that are going to give us a bad name. And I think at that point, reality would set in. Is this guy's not going to freaking try to coddle me. He's actually going to challenge me to grow, because that's what every veteran needs, to be prepared for the challenge of growth after separation.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to transition into. It's a hard thing to leave. Yeah. Right. At least it was for me, and a lot of folks that we talk to on here. It's not always going to be an easy transition, right? You have to embrace, as they say, embrace the suck, right? Because it is going to suck.
It's a new version.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a new version, right? There's gonna be a sense of loss of camaraderie, loss of tribe, things like that. You're gonna wonder. There's a friend of mine who, he was a senior enlisted advisor over where I was stationed, and we talked back and forth for some time, because he retired 2 months before I did, and he moved to the Midwest because that's where his family was, and in texting back and forth, he had mentioned to me, he's like, dude, I don't know if I made the right decision. And I'm like, well, it's kind of late now, man, but okay. We just went to the retirement ceremony and shit. But, it was an honest conversation because I like to do this thing where I text these folks that I was that I was stationed with, right? That I know.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a buddy check, hey, how's everything going? Just about every month. He's like, I don't know if I made the right decision, man. I miss it. I think I got out too early. He got out just over 20 years and like, some months. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about coming back in, and I'm like, don't do that, man. Like, there's a reason why we were so excited to leave the service, because we were excited at the prospect of a new life, more time with our family. No longer do we need to move every 3 years, or, we can start something else that we want to do. And it was kind of a conversation back and forth, just seeing where the disconnect was with him, and seeing where we can kind of level out the ground a little bit. Because I was curious. I'm like, because I have had those thoughts in the past, like, why did I get out now?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad the way things are going right now. I'm like, I'm kind of glad I did, but it was it was good to see that perspective and just kind of talk to him about it. Now he's doing really well with a new job and all that. He's liking it. He's busy, and I think part of that being successful in transition is finding something else that will give you a purpose.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there with nothing, you're gonna be in your head about it. Oh, what if? You got to stay busy. You got to find your next purpose, similar to how you found something that you like. How John has something that he like. I'm starting to get into some new stuff. If you don't have something that you're doing, you're gonna be getting in your head about things, and it's gonna eat you alive, man. It really is, because you start thinking about what if, and what is it? Comparison is the thief of joy, as that they say.
Yeah.
You're gonna be comparing this life to the past life. I'm like, man, that life was so good. Well, why was it so good? Because everything was taken care of for you. The Marine or the military is this little bubble where you have, you get BAH, BAS, you get healthcare, you get all this stuff. Everything's taken care of for you. Now it's time to put on your big boy, big girl pants and start taking care of your own stuff with your own family. And that's scary. It scares folks. Fuck, it scared me, I'm like, damn, I got to pay taxes now. I was a Florida resident. Now I'm a California resident.
Oh,
and I'm like, and I was telling my wife, I was like, hey, we might want to move back to Florida or something, because and she won't do it because she grew up here in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
She's like, nah, I'm not moving back to Florida. You seen about the Florida man? Have you read about the Florida man? I was like, that shit's I'm the Florida man, that shit's fake.
I had a buddy yesterday. This is probably a couple of days ago, and I'm pretty sure we all know people who have talked about retirement and then pulled it back. Right, like you're like I'm what's that? There's that game where you slide something on sand. What's it called? When you're anyways, right?
Oh,
they kind of slide their paper out and then they slide it back. It's like it's leverage. You didn't give me what I wanted, or you gave it. Let me get it back. Whatever.
Right.
Buddy of mine was like, listen, I would tell myself that timing is the biggest important thing when it comes to when is the right time.
Yeah.
And he said it best from someone who told him, when you choose to leave the service, there's two ways it happens. You either drop the mic or the curtain gets closed on you. Which one do you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, that's deep, bro. I was like, you can put that on a t-shirt or a bumper sticker, right? But it's the truth.
Write that down.
Do you want the curtain closed? Or do you want to drop the mic? I'm the kind of person I just prefer to drop the mic, man. Like, and that's the other thing that makes it challenging, is that when it's hard to say goodbye, you feel too tied to the identity. And then that's something that a lot of veterans struggle with, is the identity that they're leaving behind. And to find a new one, it takes a little bit of time. It takes It takes some struggle. It takes some heartache and pain. But you're gonna get through it. Don't do it by yourself. Do it with the village. Like you reach out to buddies and you send them texts. I mean, I do the same. Sometimes they respond. Most times they don't. And it's a couple days later. I'm like, hey man, I'll check on you. How you doing? How's everything going? You know, I miss you, but I hate you. Take care. Whatever. Just even the simple things like that. But the thing about leaving the uniform, and you're right, like it asks you to do a lot. It asks you to say goodbye to something that you loved. There's a poem that runs around about how the Marine Corps is like the mistress, right? Hey, she loves you. She wants you. She needs your time. She takes you away from everything. You'll do things for her that you won't do for nobody else, not even the people that really love you. But one day she's gonna leave you for a younger man. So then it's over, right? So it happens, and you have to learn how to see the signs of not just when it's good for you, but really when it's great for the people that you care about and that you love. And like I looked at my daughter and my wife, and 100% supportive. They were ride or die with me the whole time. Everywhere I went, I take them. Any events for work, they were beside me because I wanted to ensure that my Marines were seeing that I wasn't just talking about family being important, that it was important, and making time for family, quality time, where it wasn't quantity, it was quality. That I needed them to see that part of it. Through that, though, I also started to see the signs of like, okay, I need to get them back to where it's us, and I got to say goodbye to this, because it ain't gonna last forever. Like one day it's gonna be over. So I just picked my time. I think it was good to say goodbye because I don't want the curtain closed. Like my buddy laid out. I just dropped the mic on it. So, but the network piece and having people who care about you and you reach back out to them. If you're not the person that's reaching back out, you should do it, because that's why everybody falls into that kind of like the darkness that I know you're mentioning. They feel all alone, like, oh, nobody cares. No, there's no more of the unit. It's just me by myself. So, but yeah, sending them texts, man. Sometimes I get pissed because I send my boys texts and they don't respond. I'm like, okay, you treating me like that person that night when we hung out and you kind of dipped and dodged them. Like, all right, I got you, man. And then they'll respond like, hey, dude, sorry. I'm like, no, I don't.
Happens all the time.
Don't text me no more. You're done.
It happens all the time. Then I followed up with like some freaking crazy meme, something that I wouldn't even send my own family. And I'm like, hey.
They probably got like 50 of them, and then they finally say something back.
Oh, yeah. They're like, dude, what the hell? I opened it up in front of my wife, and I'm like, oh, well, don't do that then.
Oh, man.
I think you're 100% spot on in the camaraderie and missing the community and missing when we PCS, we do the same kind of thing on a micro scale, right? We go from one, and of course we're in the service throughout the whole process, but we go from one community to a whole nother community, right? And depending where you go, like if you PCS to San Diego and then the next year you PCS to Japan, it's two different places. Like it's completely different places. But the choice is already kind of made for you. Like you don't have a lot of say-so in that choice, right? Whereas the retirement thing is like, I'm going to make the choice and I'm going to commit to the choice and I'm going to leave my paper on the table and not slide it back across the table. I feel like the fear that comes with that, where people want to slide the paper back and retract their committal to retiring and going through that potentially painful process, is like wanting to know the outcomes of the 47,000 decisions that you could have made versus the decision that you actually make. And the reality of it is like, whether you make the decision or not, you'll never know the outcomes of the other 47,000 choices either way. And you'll go to your grave with that. And so that's kind of like the thing that I think about. And I know me and Big talk about this a ton, is being able to make those decisions, make those choices without having to, or at least trying not to think about what are the other, 100 things that could have happened, the what ifs that Vic mentioned.
Yeah, and when I feel like a lot of us are gonna, and maybe you're probably going through it as well, Vic, or you told me, man. But when I retired, I kind of wanted to just go in a hole and have nothing to do with the Marine Corps anymore. I didn't want nothing. Like, I don't want to, don't call me, call me, but don't tell me to come somewhere. Like, I have yet to go to the Marine Corps ball. I'm probably going to go to one in the future, but I needed to break away from it. And I had a mentor that I met years back through LinkedIn. His name is Robert Garcia. He's in Arizona. And I bring it up because one of the things that I thought of before I retired was, am I going to find that next mission that I feel tied to want to serve with? And he said some words to me, and I think about them all the time. And it's that your real service doesn't start until you take the uniform off, because now it's a choice. And now the chance to give back and to bring in the support that the organization deserves, now it's a choice, and it's not an obligation. And because of that, you really have the opportunity to really serve. And so as I thought about it through transition, and then that first year of retirement, every day I thought about it, the more it became true. And so I think I found mine. It's probably going to change a couple times as it keeps moving forward. But yeah, that's, at least for me, like what you're talking about, John, the 47,000 decisions that people are going to go through or make as they transition. I know one of them is going to be the question of deciding what the next mission is going to be that they're going to give their purpose in their life to. But yeah, it happens after you take the uniform off.
And I think you're absolutely right, man, because I did go through that a period of time where I became reclusive, right? I was that I think as once, it doesn't even have to be a retirement, right? It could be when the veteran leaves the service, that following month is when the most support is needed for that person. Because, well, you learn things in TAP, right? TAP or TRS. And it's baseline stuff, right? But what's not covered on there is a lot of mental health stuff. So I think the month following leaving the service is crucial to a support network. Because I did become reclusive. I did go into a spiral, it felt like, right? I did not want to talk to anybody. I wanted to figure out, I felt lost. Like, what is my actual purpose in life? Did I make the right decision? Am I doing the right thing for my family? Now looking back on it, like a year later, I'm like, I'm fine. I'm completely fine now, right? It was that 1 month, man, that month following, maybe even bleeding into a month and a half, 2 months, that was crucial to having a support network. And, you text the people that and they don't answer back. So then I start to wonder, like, are these people actually my friends? And then I start to wonder, like, who do I really have? And you start trying to attach yourself to different things, and you start, and it's a big thing. It's when they need the support network the most. And I think that's where you mentioned, putting back somebody who has served in the military back into society better than when you found them. I think that's a big thing that we kind of dismiss, or the military dismisses a little bit, or maybe they haven't looked into it, is an actual transition where it's like, hey, let's focus on actually making you a solid member of society, right? I understand that the military's mission is to fight battles and win wars, right? Ultimately, that's what, like the Marine Corps mission, the Army's mission, it's fight battles and win wars, take care of our people while they're in. Once you're leaving the service, you're kind of, hey, you're on your own. But that is a big reason why we have, veteran suicide or homelessness. It's because people are lost. People are simply lost. And I talked to my wife. My wife is an Air Force veteran, and I talked to her a lot about this stuff too. And I'm like, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I should feel happy that I left? I should feel ecstatic. And I don't, and this was like a month or two after I left. And she's like, well, it takes some time, because she left. She was a reservist, right? So she doesn't really have that active duty time, that camaraderie that, I deployed. I became really tight with folks. And it was hard. It was hard to explain that to her, and then I started talking to other veterans who kind of feel the same way. I'm like, okay, well, I expanded the network after that month or two. And I'm like, okay, well, there's other people who feel the same way. Let me see how they got through it. And then through this podcast, started touching more and more people. And it kind of went out from there, right? Talked to John about it. We kind of conversed about it, and then we hit it off. Talked to folks like you, Pedro, and then we kind of hit it off. But it is that month or two after that, it's like the most crucial, man, at least the ones that I've found that are very essential to actually helping out a veteran in the transition process.
No, I agree with you.
It's tough, man.
We all got different times.
Yeah.
I think mine might have been a little bit different because of when I left active duty in 2004, and I went through a lot of it the first time. So even with that, I thought I was like, oh, I got this. I'm gonna be good. Nah, man, I wasn't, because this time I had the responsibility tied to me even stronger now with, more family, a wife, and more responsibility. But you're absolutely right in that the continued mentorship and the continued just communication and not allowing someone to go off on their own it's one of the missing links in successful transition. And
it is.
Of a couple of guys and I talked to, a thought would be a unit connecting with someone who has successfully retired from their unit, reaching back and being a mentor to help someone who goes through transition, that someone automatically that they know that could kind of have still a relationship with anybody who's still serving there, and then putting them online with them to be able to go ahead and jump in and have a conversation, at least kind of do that check-in and see how they're doing. I don't know if that's an option, if that's even feasible, but it was just something I know that others we've talked about.
Yeah. So I'm curious that, you brought up a couple of books that you've read, and John and I, we talk about this a lot on the podcast, because I'm always learning from him. He's always learning from me, and same thing with our guests and stuff. And I'm curious, man, are you reading something right now? And what is it?
So, I just put it back there too. It's I have the book "Never Split the Difference" by Chris Voss, right?
Yeah.
And
Chris
I have
Voss,
finished it, but I don't feel like I grabbed everything from it, so I'm running back to it. And another book that I'm going to begin is Grit by Angela Duckworth.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So those are the ones that are in my view right now, the ones I want to tackle. The recruiting duty, that we'd attend conferences and they would give us literature and say, hey, read these books. My favorite is an author, Jim Collins, who wrote the series Good to Great, Built to Last, How the Mighty Fall. But the Chris Voss one, man, I thought I knew everything about how to talk to people and stuff, but nope, I don't.
Dude, Chris Voss is an animal, dude. He is awesome. So prior FBI investigator, right? So I have a master class subscription, and and actually I'll share it on here. So if you go through, I think it's bluestarneighborhood.com, they actually give a free masterclass subscription up until the end of the year. But John told me about it too late, so I actually paid for my damn subscription. So thanks, John. No, I'm just kidding.
You're so
welcome. Chris Voss, man, he has an excellent mastermind on there on how to ask effective questions to get the answer you want. And I actually watched this on the flight. I was on the flight. I forgot where I was going. But, you click on the screen on the flight, and like, masterclass, Chris Voss. I've heard his name before. He runs a Black Swan group. Let me check this out. So excellent masterclass on how to ask effective questions without actually giving so much of yourself away. You're just repeating what they're saying to them. Like, oh, you're thinking about getting out of the military? Why are you thinking about getting out of the military? And just allowing them to open up. Meanwhile, you're just kind of like asking the same thing that they're asking or that they're saying. Excellent, man. Chris Voss is awesome. But never split the difference, man. That's been on my list for a while. I got a wish list on Amazon. Awesome. And then Grit by Angela Duckworth, man. That's another good one.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're looking at my bookshelf here. You know, I was like, okay, it's up here now. But because we have the same kind of taste, right? Like you want to learn, you want to expand your knowledge on certain things, how to talk to people, you know, what causes grit, you know, good to great, what makes average companies great companies, right? So no, it's excellent stuff, man. Excellent stuff.
Yeah. What about you, John? What's your favorite book?
Oh, you're gonna open that door, man.
Yeah, don't open that can of worms. It depends on the context.
What should I read?
So depending on the context, I've been diving a lot into kind of generation stories. So like meaning generation's the wrong word, but evolution stories of people going from basically like, oh, I was a broke kid in college and I dropped out, and then all of a sudden I started doing this, and now I'm this big whatever in life, right? And kind of following that trail, not to tease out like, oh, well, what do I got to do and what do I got to exactly do to become this person, but more of pulling out the life lessons. The same kind of thing that we do in these interviews is we like to pull out the life lessons, pull the thread a little bit so that we can get the best information out and get it in context of who we're speaking to. Recently, I read Rebel Without a Clue by Robert Rodriguez. Probably know him. He's a film director, producer down in Austin, Texas. He's made Dust to Dawn, a few other franchises, some great movies. But his kind of genesis story is really interesting because he was that 20-something-year-old kid who was just trying to get into filmmaking. He grew up in a large Hispanic family as well. I think he had 10 or 11 siblings as well. So he kind of used that environment with the equipment that he had in his hands to sit there and film his siblings and put them and cast them together, you know, at the ages of like 50, playing around with it. And that then eventually led him to trying to get into film school. And then from film school, he kind of stepped a little bit and took $7,000 and went down to Mexico for 2 weeks and filmed the movie El Mariachi, which then became like this catapult for him to get into Hollywood, to break into filmmaking on a back a lot to the community, and just a super, super nice, at least from what I've seen. I haven't met him in person or anything like that, but I've been watching a lot of his interviews, read his book. That book is very inspiring, especially when you think about the kind of transition that we do, military to civilian, or anything in life. You don't really know what the outcome's going to be, and you just got to go in. He says one really nice quote out of the book is, he says, you have to commit to a body of work, basically saying you can commit to making the one film or doing the one project, but rather than doing that, why don't you just commit to a whole group of projects or films or whatever it is you're trying to do, and understand that there's going to be some that overperform, some that underperform, some that go crazy, some that get thing right. But at the end of the day, you've created, you know, a portfolio of work that you've done that actually shows who you are as a creative person, or as a filmmaker, or as a designer, or a project manager. He says to think of that perspective, and that saves you a lot of that heartache on the back end of thinking like, oh, this project flopped. And then that, you know, potentially puts roadblocks in your way to where you don't want to do the next project, or you start questioning yourself. Am I good enough to even do this at all? Right. He was a kid with a borrowed camera with $7,000 with no assistance on the set. It was literally him and one other guy, and they made the whole entire film from front to back, right? And he did all the editing, all the lighting, all the sound, everything. Didn't know what he was doing. So That's my book.
I'm gonna have to pick it up now, man. You sold it to me, brother. Especially when you said he had that many brothers and sisters, I thought about how early I had to get up in the morning just to use the bathroom. So when I went to the Marines, it was no problem because I was already used to it. But no, that's phenomenal, man. Rebel Without a Cause. I wrote that one down. I'm on Amazon that one today, man.
Yeah, that's a good one. I would recommend. What's the one? It's free right now on the PDF. Is let me see here. I know we talked about it a while back. Naval, yeah, that's exactly what I'm Googling right here. Naval Ravikant.
What's that?
So that is the author's name, Naval Ravikant. He's a CEO, and his book is called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. NavalRavikant. And so the PDF, the guy who wrote it, what's his name? Gosh. Jorgensen, I think it is. Eric Jorgensen. Yeah, there you go. Eric Jorgensen. So he wrote this book compiled from Twitter posts from Naval Ravikant, right? And he just talks about his Twitter posts. So he made this book free, the PDF for free on a website, right? You can always buy it off Amazon, right? But I read it and it just makes so much sense to me, dude. It's like philosophies on life, on business. I mean, this guy has built $1 million businesses. He just has such a deep understanding of life. He's in his mid 40s, but for some reason he expands so much on it. And I'm like, you know what? I read it for free and I have the audiobook, but I need to have the book because I like to write stuff in it, you know? So The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Great one. I'm partial also to Admiral McCraven. You're familiar with him? Make Your Bed. Yeah, Make Your Bed. So I gifted that one to my son, and he still has not made his bed. So I'm thinking something's going on there. Maybe I have to read it to him or something. But
I gave my daughter, and I think about this, John, because you asked me it earlier, and I've been playing this thing in my brain. If I had to sit in front of a TAP class or just a group of veterans and get them ready for transition, I would give them the book, The Coffee Bean. The Coffee Bean.
Let me write that down. The Coffee Bean.
It's a short read. I've given it to my daughter.
Can you give me a 10-second synopsis of what it is, what it's about?
Absolutely. It's about the overline of the book is when you encounter life, do you shape yourself to the environment and become hard or soft, or does the environment become who you are because of what you're made of, right? So it talks a lot about just not allowing adversity and everything around you to kind of harden your heart, harden you as a person, or make you soft and weak. It's about you embracing whatever comes your way, and the environment becomes you because of what you have to offer. It's a short read. Somebody gave it to me years back and was like, "Listen, bro, you're too hard on people." I was like, "Well, I had a hard life, dog." It's like, "Well, listen, read this book." And it's such a short read. You probably read it in a day, which is why for a TAP class, I thought would always, I hate that word, thought. I believe it would always be a great thing because the environment is going to be new. So you're going to be soft. It's going to break you. Are you going to be hard, close everybody out? Or are you going to make the environment better because of who you are? Right. Yeah. So the coffee.
Excellent, man. I got it written down here, The Coffee Bean.
And then, of course, one other little book that me and Victor have read a few times might be useful for folks out there. It's short. It's to the point. It's like 10 little bullets of things that you can think about. The bottom line up front, the book that we created, which is not bad either. Also,
find it on Amazon.
You guys
wrote on Amazon right now.
You wrote Bluff.
Yeah, we wrote Bluff.
We painstakingly over months and months of
Hey, that's my favorite thing, man. Bottom line up front.
I'm telling you, man.
Right now.
I'm telling you, it's a good read. 10 short chapters, man. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, anybody out there listening, Kindle Unlimited, it's free. And we priced it low enough at I think it's $2.99, so everybody has access to it. You know, half the price of a cup of coffee, and it could be yours. It really can. Let me put it on here. Bottom line up front. Yeah, there you go. Where is it? At the stage. Bottom line up front.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's a good little read. It's just stuff that we've learned. You know, you got John right here. Looking in his shirt and tie. Look at that,
man.
So look at that guy.
Yep.
No, but it really is, man. I mean, we got we put several months of work into this, and it really goes to show, like, all the people that it's thanks to all the people that we've interviewed as well and had on the show that really show us, you know, what they wish that they knew during their whole time, their transition time. And you know, we kind of bounced that off of what we wish we knew, and then we created this book back and forth, you know, just kind of editing and creating that. Took us a few months, but it was fun to do. It really was, to put it out there.
Hey, I'm gonna buy it, man, but I'm gonna tell you right now, the title itself already sold me. Everything else is gonna be icing on the cake.
That's it. Awesome. Well, shoot, Pedro, man, it was great. It was great having you on here, man. I learned a whole lot, and like just like me and John always do, I got like a whole page full of notes and stuff that I took here, and just from my essay, for my situational awareness, and just to help me grow as well. So I always learn something from each one of our guests, and you're no different. So I really do appreciate you coming on and you know, giving us some of your time to share your story with us.
No, gentlemen, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for the opportunity to, you know, join the podcast, share some nuggets. If they were great, anybody watching, hopefully they benefited you. And if they didn't, I didn't have coffee before the call, so that's probably why it sucked. But I appreciate what you gentlemen are doing, and I'll just thank you for the opportunity to be on the show.
Yeah, man, it's a real pleasure having you on. It's great to meet you. It's great to connect with you, and great. I think if you watch this or listen to this and you don't have anything, if you're not walking away with a golden nugget, you probably need to rewind about 30 minutes, 45 minutes and let it play back again, just to let some of that stuff sink in.
Yeah, it was great having you, man. Where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you?
I mean, obviously you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I'm going to put all of my stuff. I stay off of Instagram now. You know, I have a Facebook, but LinkedIn is where I carry most of my time and my energy, mainly because that's the platform where, as veterans, what we need to run into so that we can no longer have to translate our skills. It should become so well known that corporations understand who we are. You want to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Send me a connection. I love doing virtual coffees. Don't worry, I got a Keurig right next to me over here that's off the screen. Let me know. We jump on a call. And then anything, just build a good relationship and a good conversation. So hit me on LinkedIn.
Awesome, man. Yeah, there you go. LinkedIn. Yeah, we really appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time, and feel free. I mean, we'd love to have you back on the future, man. So feel free to connect again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And next time we do really need to talk about just the bottom line up front. I want to hear about that, how you guys put it together, because I feel like we all got a story to share. So maybe it'll be a bestseller. You never know.
Why not?
We're committed to the body of work, not just the one.
There you go.
That's it.
All right, gentlemen. Good to meet you, man.
All right, man.
Have a blessed
day. Thanks, Pedro.
Man.
Right.
Appreciate you.
All right, you as well. Yeah, good nuggets, man. Good stuff that we learned there, man. It's always good to learn from somebody who's had experience and knowledge. And like, I've never been a recruiter, so I don't know what that life is like. I've only heard stories, but it's good to hear from somebody firsthand, right? How that has helped them out in the military, how they've carried that to their civilian career, and how they're going to be moving forward with it. So it's always good to hear that.
Yeah, I've heard the horror stories and good stories both about recruiting. Never been a recruiter myself. I tried to at one time, and I think I just dropped the ball on it. I was going to do that hometown recruiting thing, and it just never worked out. But
never happened. Yeah,
I feel
no,
like
it's all good.
There's a ton of things that you can learn in the recruiting field. Like, not only is it really hard and challenging, and you've got to go meet quotas and do all these things, but you get a lot of those soft skills that he was talking about, to then be able to take a bunch of that information and translate it back into civilian lifestyle or a new job or a new experience. Yeah, it's really, I feel like that was very helpful. And then, of course, bringing that information to us and to the audience here, to everyone watching and listening. Really, like I said, if you didn't get at least one golden goose egg out of this whole conversation, then you probably weren't paying attention. You were probably washing the dishes too fast and not listening in. So.
Yeah. One thing I will kind of reiterate there is when you mentioned yesterday's home run doesn't win today's game. That makes it makes sense, right? You can't rely on what happened yesterday. Every day is a new day, and you just got to move forward. That's it. I can't rely on what happened yesterday to take me through today. So it makes so much sense. But yeah, John, we're moving up in the ranks on the military retirement group. You know, I just approved it's probably 50 folks this past week. So I don't know, it comes in waves. It really does. It's like randomly, like I'll get 7 people, and then bam, 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 I go to check it again. It's like 15 people. I'm like, okay, well, I got to add these people on here. I go through each one to make sure that these aren't like Nigerian princes that are trying to freaking come into the military retirement group or something, right? But
I've denied a couple of those already.
Have you? Okay, well, but yeah, we're definitely growing on there. There's a lot of good information on there. The files tab is full of good info for folks who are leaving the military, and it doesn't matter if you're retiring, it doesn't matter if you're a veteran and getting out after 4 years. There's good information on there, timelines and all that stuff that can help you out. So the military retirement group on Facebook. Where else can you find us? You know, I got my own YouTube channel, The Green Logbook. That one's growing. I just posted up a video yesterday, or the day before yesterday. So that one's still growing. But yeah, I mean, you can find us in different spots on LinkedIn as well. Please connect with us. Or if you want to be considered or if you want to jump on as a guest on the Military Retirement Podcast, you can shoot us an email at info@militaryretirementpodcast.com. And send us your bio. Tell us why you would be a good fit for the podcast. And we're scheduling some stuff out now. So looking forward to connecting with more folks.
And if you got a press kit or something like that, feel free to send that along as well. If you're an experienced person who's been speaking on the circuit out there in the podcast world or in different interviews, also great to have that piece of information. Yeah, man. Just building it, getting to where we need to be, and doing this on the nights and weekends as much as possible. If you're a listener to the podcasts, you can find all the new episodes, and luckily we have a bunch of them queued up, so now they're going to start coming out. We go YouTube first and live stream and video first, and then push to all the podcast platforms. So if your preferred way of checking us out is through audio only, you can do that on Apple iTunes, on Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio, like all them places you can find us.
All good spots. Much. Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, that's the end of the podcast.
That's it. Have a good one. Out here.